Hello everyone. This is part 2 of our API lecture series, and I will be continuing on with building out our Friends API, which is going to include showing a friend, creating a friend, updating a friend, deleting a friend, and so on. But the first thing I wanted to do was kind of build on our API information over here. Because remember, your API endpoints over here that you're testing is also your documentation for your team. And so right now I've kind of overloaded this one request here with a successful reading of all the friends, but also showing how the sort works as well. And also I demonstrated how the error display works. So I prefer that I provide 3 different requests in the API grouping here to show how that works. And so the way you can do this is I want this friends get all to be a request. But then if you click on these 3 dots, there's also add example. So I can add various examples for getting all friends. And I have 2 more that I want to specifically call out, right? One of them is the sort and the other one is the error. So I want to go ahead and do that. And so I'm going to do add example. And for this particular one, it's going to be get all and sort. So I can name that whatever I want, which is great. But now I want to go back to the friends get all request and take off the parameters, because this is the default. Right? This is the default without the sorting. Okay. And then notice there's no query string on here, but if I go to this example, get friends get all and sort, this one is the example with the query string. So I want both to exist because I want to remind myself in the future and also my teammates that there's different scenarios this endpoint supports. So then I also want to add another example for friends get all show error. And so in this case, I just need one example like fast name. I know that's going to kick off an error. And when I try that, there I get my error message. Now this serves as documentation for future developers to see that, oops, what's going on here? Make sure I'm saving these correctly. Save, and save. Okay, good. So you'll even notice in a moment. Actually, I might come back. Let's see if I click on Friends API. If I click on this right here, and then says view complete documentation. This is really cool. It gives the endpoint URL, and also I can look at how to make requests in other languages. This is like crazy cool. So I can switch it. Let's see if I can do that here somewhere. Oh, right here. I can change the language to from JavaScript to HTTP to Kotlin. So here's the Kotlin code to make a request to this Friends API. Was there any other interesting ones? Yeah, Node. So like there's an Axios library in Node for making these requests. So you can see the code that you would need to use this endpoint in Node to access it. That's cool. So really, really powerful. Like if you're writing a React app and you want to look at what this looks like using different libraries, you can just grab that. If you wanted to see what it looks like in PHP Guzzle, right? There's the code you would use to use the Guzzle client. So this Postman is a powerful tool. Not only is it serving as documentation, but it's also providing your client code to interact with your API. So super, super helpful there. I'll just change it back to HTTP for now so we can just see what it looks like in a generic fashion. And as we build out more and more, you'll see more examples of the other endpoints as we build them out. So, all right, well, where do we want to go next? All right, so we want to go back to our here. We want to add more routes for show, create, update, and delete. And what's awesome here is I really, I already know what these routes look like because CRUD is CRUD, REST is REST, endpoints are endpoints. I already know what these look like. So I can start to build these out. 2, 3, 4, 5 more, I think. I know I'm going to get access to friends, but I don't want all of them. So there's a way we can say, okay, actually give me an ID and I will find the friend amongst the friends that you're looking for. And then this is going to be a singular get. Now I'm getting a squiggly because it has no idea what this is yet. We haven't even created it yet. So we will definitely get back to that. And then what else do I want? I want to create. So that's a post. And then I want to put. So we can update friends. Oops, I need to update my class here. Friend post. Friend put. Whoops, I'm way off here. This is a post. This is a put. And what's the last thing? We have a delete. Delete. And then we also need to know amongst the friends, which friend are we deleting? So we want to parameterize an ID there in the URL so we know which one. And then this will be friend delete. See that? So like I said, we already know what those routes should look like. So I'll go and just create them up front, and then I can go create controllers for each of those. I need to bring them in just like I did up here, and then I should be good to go. So let's go ahead and might as well just do that. I need one for friend get, so just showing a friend. Let me see if I can go up and find my command. Oh, I do. So I have a singular friend get. So I'm going to generate that controller. Oh, what happened here? Friend get invocable. Friend get was not found. Oh, it's not letting me generate anything with these errors, so I'm going to comment these out. Yeah. So let's. I guess maybe I should have created these first and then created my route so I don't get that error. But now you know. Now you know what to look out for. I guess I would recommend creating these controllers first and then creating the routes. So I did that a little backwards, but we're okay. I'll just comment them out, run my controller or run my generator. That looks good. All right, what's the next one I need to do? After friend get would be friend post. Post. And then the next one would be put. And the last one is friend delete. And if I look at my file explorer, those should all be on the left side, and they are. They're just kind of, they're generated, so there's no code in the invoke functions on those yet. So, but now that they're there, I'm going to bring them in. 2, 3, 4. Friend get, and then a post, then a put, and then a delete. So those are all my controllers I'm bringing in. Now I should be able to enable my routes to use those because now they're really there. And no squigglies, everything works. So these are all my friend routes for my friend endpoints. And the only one we have working so far is this first one, which we tested already before. So the next one we want to work on is friend get. And so that's the one that allows us to show one friend at a time. Okay, let's check it out. Friend get, where are you? Okay, totally empty right now. So what we want to do with this now is, remember, this is the show action. The show action in a standard traditional controller, which that action takes an ID. We look up the friend by ID, and then we return the data for that friend. That's kind of the gist of it. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm actually going to replace this request with an ID. And again, you might be asking, where's that ID come from? Well, in my API route, right here in the quotes, there's friend slash, and then these squigglies with an ID. That's the part where we're saying in our route, we want whoever calls this API needs to pass along that ID. And if they don't, there's going to be an error. But we want them to pass along that ID so that we can do a proper lookup in the database. So that's where that ID comes from. So we want to grab that ID, and then just like we did in the show action, we wanted to look up friend. And then it looks like, yeah, friend. It's saying, I don't know where friend is, so guess what we have to do, right? We got to bring it in and use that. And so we will do that. And that looks better. And then we can do a return response. Yep, that looks good. And then we also need to incorporate, we need to use our response class. So that just brings the library response like we did in our other file. So we can use this fancy HTTP OK. And let's see what that looks like. What IDs do I have anyway? Let's go back here. Friends. So I got 14. I have 9, 3. So we need to create a new endpoint. Add a request. And this will be get, we want to get a friend. So a friend. And I know it's a get. And then we want to do friend slash 3 should work. All right, let's see if that works. All right, I got an error. What does the error say? 404. Oh, API slash friends. Perfect. Don't forget the API on there, remember? Any route we put in the api.php is going to have that API part as a part of the URL. So that's a good reminder. So awesome. So that our API endpoint works there. Now, what's going to happen if I again put a value that doesn't exist, like 100? Okay, friend null. Okay, so we can be a little bit more proactive there, and we can let them know, give them some sort of friendly message about this. So what something we can easily do is just do a little conditional here. If not friend, right? Then we can give them a friend not found, and I think that's a good enough message there. So let's try that out now. Friend not found. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to add that on as another example. So add example. Get a friend, but is missing. All right, so instead of putting this one to be 100, I'm going to keep that as 3. Go down to this other example. Copy, paste, and then replace that with 100. So now we have 2 examples, right? There's a missing friend example and a real working example. This one works great. And missing friend, that also works good as well. Remember, we're writing documentation for our team. So if I go back to here, click on this, view the documentation, I have examples of getting all, and I have examples for getting a friend. And so we can kind of see those things building up now. My documentation is getting better and better. All right, looking good. Let's continue. I want to work on, let's see what's next over here. API. So we want to now be able to create a friend. So we want to be able to post to this and set that up. So let's do that. Where are you? Friend post. Okay. All right. So we're going to be receiving a set of data. It'll be first name, last name, and age. And then we want to create a new friend from that data. All right. So how we might work and start building that out. So we need to take all the data. Request. So we want all of that. And then what I want to do, okay, what I want to do is I don't want to just use the raw data. I want to have validated data. And I want to create what's called a friend validator. And validate data. Now, this friend validator, this is similar to what you did in your web-based RESTful controller. Remember, we need to do a couple different spots of validation. And we have to do a validation in the update action as well as the store action. And instead of duplicating the same validation in 2 spots, we created a function in our controller that did the validation for us. And then we were able to call that in both store and update so that we can put all of our validation in one spot. So I'm going to use a similar idea, except I'm actually going to put it inside of a class. And this class I can then use in the whenever we want to create a friend and whenever we want to update a friend, I can use the validation rules that I've defined inside my friend validator. So I'm going to leave this broken right now, knowing that we'll come back and fix it. So I'm going to go down to my models and create a folder called validators. And the reason why I'm doing that is I may have more than one class or more than one validator for different purposes throughout my API server. So I'm just going to start out and just kind of assume that. And within here, I'm going to create a new file. Friend validator. And then within here, I'm going to go ahead and define what I want my validator to look like. So space at models /validator. So that's good. Validators. And then I think I should be able to write my class. Validator. And then in here, I'm going to create a public static function called validate. It's going to take some data. Remember, that's what wherever I call it, right? I call it friend validator. So it's a static function called validate, and it receives data. So I'm going to follow this kind of guideline that I've given myself here. Go back here, and then I can go ahead and return. I can create a validator, make, and then data, and then I can have my rules in here, just like we did in our controller validation. So let's see. Yeah, this is very similar to what we did in our controller. So just keep that in mind. I'll just return that. And then in the rules, we can have, we want our ID. We want that to be required integer. What else? We want our first name to be required in string. Last name will be same idea. And then age will be required in an integer as well. So, so this validator comes built into Laravel. So I'm just going to bring that in. So it's built into Laravel. I'm going to use it. So now I think this is good. I have all my validation in this one class. And now I could just get to bring that in. And I stored it underneath models, validators. So I just need to bring that in over here. Use app models. Validators, and then friend validator. So now that's usable inside of this class. So now my error goes away. Thank you very much. Very cool. And so now that I have that in place, I can just go and continue with validated data and return response, and can use my generated message. So that looks good. Even more so, it's pretty common practice. I'll just pass. Instead of just a generic message, I'm going to go ahead and pass the newly created friend back to the person who created this for me, or who made the endpoint call. Let's see. Response. So I need my response. Friend get. So I need that in here. So now I can make the response calls. Friend, do I have friend anywhere? Oh, I need to create the friend. Friend equals friend create validated data. It's not knowing what friend is, so I need to bring that in as well. Okay, I think this is coming together nicely. Let's see if I can create a friend. Let's see. Yeah, this is going to involve a little bit more now. So I want to add a request. Create friend. Now this one's a little bit different now. Here, let me go back and copy that. Paste. I'm just going to post to this friends endpoint. How do I know? Well, I go back to my route that I defined in web.php or api.php. I'm just going to post to this friends endpoint right here. There's no ID on there. And that's because we're actually going to make ID. No, we don't need an ID. there's no ID. It's just we're creating a brand new friend. So yeah, so that makes sense there. An ID will be generated after we post it to the database table, which is, I think that's important. When you get that back, we actually return the friend object back to where it was called. So let's say it's a React application. You're going to want that ID so you can store that in your React store in the front end and keep track of that in your React application as well. So yeah, that makes sense. We want to return that whole friend object. Okay, so we are not getting, we are posting. So we want to change our verb here to post. And then we want to post data to this endpoint. And the way we do that, not using the query string params, that's not how post works. Query string params are for GET requests. When we want to post a request, we want to post a JSON data object to this endpoint. And so we want to go straight to this body section here. And I want to post, let's see, I want to post raw data, but JSON. See that? So make a note right here, right now, when you're posting or putting data to an endpoint, you want to go select raw and then go select change the text to JSON. And then what that allows you to do is actually write pure JSON right here. So I can do first name, and I can do Mary, last name, Doe, and then age, whatever here, and that'll post that data to the endpoint. Now, again, with some trust going on here. The assumption is that whoever is calling our endpoint needs to know the field names, and they will be able, whoever's writing this, we'll be able to provide documentation on what the field name should be, and then they can use our API correctly. So we're going to have to be able to handle varying scenarios anyway, but let's go through a happy path and kind of walk through that first so we can see what that looks like. So yeah, shoot, let's try it out. Okay, I get an error, of course. So what's going on here? Anything helpful in here? Oh, it might be, let's see. It might be in our validator that required. We don't have an integer. Let's change this to an integer and see if that works. Ah, that worked. Okay. Because when we're posting, yeah, we're going to need, we don't want to require an integer, but when it is ever used, like on an update, it should be an integer. So, okay, I feel better about that now. So it looks like that was created. We have an ID of 21. How do I confirm? Well, there's two ways to confirm. I can go to my nicely created Postman endpoint, friends get all. I could also get a friend, since I know the ID is 21. I could go to get a friend and put 21 here, and I should get a response. And I did. If I go to get all friends and look, I should see an ID in here of 21. There it is, right here. And then I can also literally go to my database and refresh here somewhere, and notice Mary Doe is in the database. So yeah, several different ways to confirm that the create actually happened. So awesome. So moving along, if the data is, if for any reason the data is invalid, we can, so if I go back here, let me create, so this is my happy path, right? So let me create a an example. Create a friend error. And so actually, how about missing field error. And so here we have all the data in here. Down here, I want to, okay, we have that, and then the body. I want to, let's just take one of these out. So again, let's say I typoed, and maybe I'm missing or incorrect field error. And so if I do that, I have an incorrect field here, but we have a validation that says last name is required. So if I try that, I get this ugly HTML error page, but I don't. I want a nice, error that's provided in JSON. So I'm gonna go back to the code, throw a try around this. We've seen this before. So it says, go ahead and try this. And now we can do that catch thing, which says, if there's an error, let's catch it and do something instead. So message error creating friend, and that's kind of reused my little bit of similar idea what I did before. So yeah, I think that's good. So now that we have a try and a catch, I should get error creating friend. Please check you are sending correct data. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. What other validation do we have? We have a validation that our age must be an integer. So if I go back here, create another, let's see, add example. This one's going to be create friend, but age not integer error. Now I can look at the body, change this to foo, and then I should be able to test that out. Again, error creating friend, please check you are sending correct data. So that's all good. I'm just kind of making sure I'm providing examples that of all the API endpoints that I need to call and what happens in those scenarios. So that's cool. All right, so moving along. We can now, we're kind of building this out. Going back to API, we now need to deal with updating a friend. And so what does that look like? Where are you? Friend put. Yeah, we have nothing in there. So this time we want to take the data and update a friend. Okay, we're getting there. So we're gonna kind of follow a similar pattern. We do know that data's coming in, so we're gonna grab all the data. Now we get the benefit of just using our friend validator. So we know we need to bring that in. Use add models. Bring that in. I might as well bring in friend because I need that. So that's cool. And go ahead, once it's validated, I can go ahead and do my update. Let me find it. So once I find it, yeah, my co-pilot here is like reading my mind, so I'm gonna go ahead and borrow some of this, but that's nothing new. We need to bring in our response class like we've done in our other examples. So the request and the response come from the same place. So that's good. And then from here, we want to then go ahead and do our update. So again, I'm just taking the same type of code, going back to the traditional controller, in the update action, this is very similar what you did in there. So we're going to call update on this friend with the valid data, and then we need to just return a valid response, right? So we're going to go ahead and give them the updated information and then go from there. So again, this is the happy path, except for if they don't find a friend, right? If they don't find a friend, then we need to give them a different error message. So let's go ahead and try this out. So I'm going to add an example. Oops, let's see. Add a request. And this will be update a friend. But I also need the URL. And instead of a get or a post, we're updating. So this is going to be a put, right? And remember, this matches our route. So if I go back and show you the route, we're on route put right there. Okay. So that's why we're doing route. And then we also need some data to pass along. So I'm going to copy some data. The only difference is we need to know which friend we're updating. So we do need to pass an ID here. Friend ID. Let's go ahead and update 3, the friend at ID 3. Okay. And I would say in this case, I'm very tempted to have a validate that handles both post and put. So I think I'm going to get smart here and do a verb. And then in here, I'll be rule equals, and I'm going to check to see if the verb equals post or put. I mean, it doesn't matter. In fact, I'm going to be very specific here. ID rule. This is just for ID, and I want it to equal integer, right? And then I want if the verb is a. What's funny is that's not right. I don't want to. I only want to validate the requirement or the requirement of the ID if it's a put. So let's go ahead and do put. Then I want to have the ID rule to have required. Yeah, I think that will be it. Otherwise, it's just integer. And then I can use ID rule right here. So if it comes in as anything but put, it's just going to be an integer requirement. But if it comes in as put, we want to have a required ID rule on there. So let's go back and yes, I need to update my code now, right? So this is going to be right here is going to be post. And then over in put, where are you? Right here, I'm going to do put. Because that then will help me be more flexible in using my validator in one spot. So then, if it's put, ID is required. Otherwise, we just want to make sure it's an integer. So let's go ahead and test that out because I already have this is where it comes in handy writing these examples over here. I want to go back and check to make sure that I can create a friend. So I'm going to change this data. Let's go Jack and Jack Doe, 99. That should still create successfully. There's no ID requirement there. So let's run that. Perfect. Okay, good. Now I can get back to updating a friend, and ID will be required for a put. And I'll add an example there in a second. Let's do a happy path first. So let's update Mary. Mary had a birthday, so 36. Oh no, let's go look and see which one is 3. 3 is actually Cyrus Vaughn, 94. Oh no, let me find the Mary Doe. Mary Doe is 21, so I'm going to update Mary Doe. 21. And Mary Doe had a birthday, so let's see if that updates Mary Doe correctly. Mary Doe, age 36. Let's go verify that here. Get a friend. 21. 36. That worked. Okay, so that's working. That's our happy path. So what about when things go wrong? We want to make sure and handle that as well. So in our case, friend put. Let's get this terminal out of the way. Yeah. So we can easily handle that with our try catch. So try. And save that. So in this case, there was an error. Again, check that you're sending the correct data. So what are some spots, right? We have some, what can cause errors? Well, if ID is missing or if the fields are incorrect, right? So I think that would be a valid thing for us to add some examples. So we can come back to friend, save that, add an example, add example, where we're trying to update a friend, but we have a missing ID. How about that? And go to body and take out ID and try it. So error updating friend, please check you're sending correct data. We can duplicate this. Oops, save that. And go to body. What else? We have, again, age could be age not an integer. Try that. So again, just kind of handling those cases. Making sure these are all saved. Missing ID. Oh no, I named that one incorrectly. Age is not a string, or age is not an integer. Error. So same thing. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. And then how about looking up an example where duplicate, we have friend does not exist. So if I go back to the body, pick an ID of 100, we should get a very specific error for that. Error updating friend, please check that you're, what did I, friend put, friend not found. Oh, it's not getting past this validation here, I see. Because ID, no, ID's there. Huh. I might have to look into that, but it may just be jumping out of the try and going straight to the catch. because it's not finding a friend here. Body ID is 100. Oh, age is foo. Let me go back and make this valid. 36. Yeah, everything else is valid. Everything's valid. So now it can get past validation. Now it's going to try to do a friend lookup and not find a friend. I should get it more specific. Yeah, friend not found. Perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. I don't like that it keeps trying to do that, but okay. I think I'm enjoying that now. So the last thing we need to do is our delete, which is this right here. And that one should be probably a little bit more straightforward. So friend delete here. And let's go. This actually be similar to the show a friend. Very, very similar. So let's go ahead and work on this one. So we're gonna actually, this one accepts an ID. Right here, see friends, and accepts an ID just like show. Let's get ID. Let's do a quick lookup. And we'll do our typical, if no friend, we'll give an error message there. Go ahead and do a delete. And then we will return friend is deleted. So response is not found. We just need to bring that in up here. It looks like we're not using request anymore. So that's looking better. So this is our pretty straightforward. The only thing we need to handle here is if friend is not found. There's really not much else that can go wrong. So this is more straightforward. Let's go test this out over here in Postman at our request. And this will be friend delete. And I'll just grab the API, this URL, and paste it. Except this is going to be delete, and we have a ID attached to it. So let's go ahead and delete Mary. We'll delete that. And there's not much else to this one. So let's go ahead and try it. First, I'll save it and delete Mary. Friend deleted. So if I go back and get a friend with a friend that's missing now, right? 21. Yep, friend not found. So I can also confirm that in my database. So Mary's there, and if I hit refresh, she should be gone. Yep, there's also Jack Doe I could delete as well. So now let's go back down here. 22, delete Jack, refresh my database, and there's no Jack there anymore. So it looks like delete is working successfully. Now what's cool, if I go back to my documentation, click on Friends API, view complete documentation, you can see all the documented endpoints that I have. Get a friend, create a friend, update a friend, and delete a friend. All the documentation is provided for yourself and for your team. This is really, really nice. I'm trying to see if I can export this. I'll have to find out if we can export the documentation, because that'll be kind of cool. Anyway, just wanted to wrap this up. Kind of the three major parts we're doing here to kind of basically demonstrate the command pattern, right? Is we've gone into the API.php file, created routes for all of these. We created classes for all these. That's why we had to bring them in and use them. And then all the literal classes are defined underneath controllers. You can see those. Each controller is just a class with one function called invoke. And each one accepts either an ID or a request to allow us to do things. Then we can, varying scenarios, we do some error handling by putting things inside try and catch, which allows us to handle errors. And otherwise, in places where we do lookups like delete and show, we do we do a lookup, and if it's not there, then we do a customized error message there. And then also in the delete, we do the same approach. So cool. So that's going to do it for this, showing how we can start building up, creating these APIs for React applications, for mobile applications, for other API servers that want to use this. And that goes a long ways towards these powerful applications that are out there in the web development these days. So other than that, I think that's it. And also I'm also thankful for Postman because it allows us to create very meaningful documentation that actually works. And so these serve as tests. So if somebody changes code and you come back and try to test one of your endpoints and it's broken, you know somebody changed something that broke the code. So this also serves as a good test or good test suite to make sure your endpoints are all working as well. So, all right, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.